Yo, what's going on, you guys? And welcome back to the Anime Plus podcast. This is your podcast for everything anime and anime related. And today's episode is going to be another news edition episode where we go over this week's anime news, sometimes gaming and entertainment. And for this week's episode, we actually do have some crazy gaming news, which we'll get to later on. And we do have some entertainment news as well. And as always, I'm your boy A Ray. Unfortunately, I am not with my guy Owen today, so it's going to be a one-man show, but it's all good. Our boy Owen is actually traveling in Guatemala. So shout outs to him. Safe travels. He'll be back. But we actually don't have him for next episode as well. I actually got one of my boys Luke to pop up. He's been to Japan, so we're gonna be talking about Japan, anime in Japan, and cool stuff like that. So make sure y'all stay tuned for that. But yeah, I'm gonna be running this one today. Hopefully, I can keep y'all entertained. But as always, we're gonna get into this one, starting off with a more fun and crazy, interesting story. So to start things off, Oita Airport is now rebranding for 6 months to Hello Kitty Airport. So this one's actually kind of cool because I was talking to Owen. Sorry, I was talking to my boy Luke on the next podcast. See, I'm so used to talking to Owen. I was talking to Luke about it. He's been to Japan, and I kind of asked him, "Is there a lot of like anime themed stuff, a lot of anime advertisements?" And he told me, "Yeah, they have a lot of cafes that are limited time editions." He was talking about how Oshinoko had a promotional thing where they were rebranded a restaurant cafe to an Oshinoko theme one just to kind of promote the second season. And I guess that's kind of what they're doing over here too for Oita Airport. So for 6 months, it's going to be called Oita Hello Kitty Airport, which is actually kind of cool. Obviously, Hello Kitty is not something that is very looked out upon. It's something that's so popular all around the world. It's one of the biggest franchises out there. So to see an airport rebrand to Hello Kitty is kind of crazy. Honestly, like I would have never expected that, but it's still kind of cool at the end of the day. But yeah, that's going to be the crazy, interesting story for today. Let's move on to the next one. So for the next one, we actually have a couple of animes that are getting sequels. So this one right here, Shangri-La Frontier, is getting a third season. Shout out to Shangri-La. I've been actually watching it. I've been binging the second season. Finally caught up. Watched the end of the second season, and I'm gonna be honest, bro. This might be one of the best VRMO. I always mess this up. VRMMORPG anime out there. So basically, it's like if you ever watch Sword Art Online, you put on like a helmet, headgear, or something like that, and you kind of immerse yourself into that world. And in this anime, that same exact thing happens. It is technically an isekai because it's another world, but it's not like a reincarnated isekai. It's a little bit different. But nonetheless, there's the MMORPG aspect to it is, it's a massive multiplayer online role playing game. So I really enjoy this anime. Not only do they play the game Shangri-La Frontier, but they also play other games in it. And that's kind of what makes this anime really interesting. Another quick side note for this one, and I got to shout them out for this. They've had one anime season come out with two consecutive cours for the first season, which I believe was at the end of 2023 and it carried into 2024. Then they had another second season with the same thing, a consecutive two core, which I believe carried in from the end of 2024 into this year, 2025. So their turnaround time is actually really impressive. So shout outs to them for that. I can only assume that third season is going to come out pretty fast too, but unfortunately there is no date of when season 3 is going to come out. But again, we'll just have to wait and find out. It did end off on a cliffhanger. I'm not going to spoil it here, but it did end off on kind of two cliffhangers. So I'm really excited for the third season. It's honestly become one of my favorite animes to watch. So shout outs to Shangri-La Frontier. Let's move on to the next one. So another anime getting a second season. Unfortunately, no air date for that second season. It is Medalist. Medalist is actually kind of cool because one of our guys in our Discord was talking about how this anime might be one that I'm gonna really enjoy. And the reason for that is it's kind of a sports anime, but it's skating. Skating isn't something that I would consider like my bread and butter when it comes to sports. I'm more of like a basketball fan, baseball, soccer, stuff like that. But I have not had the chance to check this one out. But because of that Discord member telling me that he thinks that I will enjoy it, I might give it a shot. But we'll just have to wait and see because I'll probably wait till second season comes out and then watch the first season. But I don't want to brush this one off. There's obviously other ice skating animes out there. There's Yuri on Ice. There's this one. And I know there's a couple of manga for ice skating too, but I don't know, man. Ice skating is not something that I've ever been into. I tried it once, fell on my ass, and I never ran it back. So maybe this one will get me to kind of try it, but we'll just have to wait and see. Let's move on to the next one. So the next anime that's getting a second season is called Blue Miburo, which translates to Blue Wolves. The second season is coming out next winter. So for anime seasons, winter's actually the first 3 months of the year. So January. So this will come out in January 2026. So turnaround time for that is not too bad. The first season just ended a couple weeks ago, if not last week. So shouts to this anime for a pretty quick turnaround time. All right, next story for today is Anime Boston is hosting a very popular voice actress. The name of this voice actress is Kana Ichinose. And the reason why we're talking about this today is because, your boy's from Boston, and this might be my first con that I'm ever going to go to. So I don't know, man. I'm excited, bro. Obviously, the more people that come, the better it is. This voice actress, Kana Ichinose, she's done a bunch of crazy and big roles. For example, she was Fern in Frieren. I got to correct myself there after getting roasted. She's Ichigo in Darling in the Franxx, Ryan in Final Fantasy, Yuzuriha from Doctor Stone, and a couple other ones. But low-key though, I ain't gonna lie to you. Yo, she's definitely a great voice actress, because personally I thought Fern did a great, or I guess the voice of Fern was great, and Yuzuriha is one of my goats from Doctor Stone. And of course, she's done some other roles as well. There's like way too many to list, but she is Yuka in Honey Lemon Soda, which just recently aired. So yeah, obviously very popular. I'm pretty excited for this event. It's gonna be in May 23rd to May 25th. Bro, I go lie, bro. My first con, bro. I got my glasses, bro. Y'all ever see those Ray-Ban glasses? They record and stuff like that. I'm gonna get that just for this event. I got them ready. I'll probably be trying to do some, street interviews, stuff like that. But for the most part, I'm just gonna try to enjoy my first con. I don't know why I'm like nervous but excited at the same time. But I don't know, man. If I do get the chance to meet this voice actress, obviously I will. Don't know Japanese, but fuck it, bro. We're gonna we're gonna try to hit everything possible. This is gonna be going on for 3 days. But if you guys are in the Boston area, definitely let me know. We'll try to, I want to talk to y'all. You know what I mean? So we'll definitely try to do that. Join our Discord. Link is in the description, and then we'll talk about it more then. But this is a month out from now, so still some time for that to go. All right, let's move on to the next one. So here's the crazy news about gaming. What we got today is they announced the Nintendo Switch 2. We've got console details, we've got the price, specs, controllers, and other cool news. It's coming out on June 5th of this year. Obviously, Nintendo Switch is one of the most goated consoles out there. And now we've got a legacy behind it. We've got a second one. Usually, from what I've gathered, the seconds of like a Nintendo console doesn't really do that great. So Wii U compared to the Wii was generational, and then the Wii U kind of tapered off a little bit. We got the Nintendo DS versus the Nintendo 3DS. I think Game Boy Advance is a little bit different compared to the Game Boy Color, but nonetheless, typically I've noticed that the seconds of stuff doesn't really hit like the newer versions of something, like where they completely revolutionize everything. But that doesn't mean this is going to be bad. We'll talk about the minor details, and I think we'll probably do a bigger podcast about this later on. But here are some of the minor details. So the system's going to retail for $450, which is kind of crazy. But you got to remember, inflation's going on, parts are getting more scarce, and things like that. But I think the original was like $250, and the OLED's like $350. So definitely a jump in price. The PlayStation, the PS5, which came out like maybe 5 years ago or 6 years ago at this point, that was going for about, I don't even know, 500-ish too. So it's not terrible. Obviously, Switch has always been historically cheaper than PlayStations, but it's just something to kind of keep a note on. I did watch the trailer, and I thought the Joy-Cons being used as the mouse clicker was actually pretty cool. But other than that, they've added like a bunch of new features like in-game chat and other cool stuff like that. But for the most part, they've really just enhanced stuff with like 4K resolution, 1080p, and all that cool stuff. But again, we're going to be talking about this more in detail because I kind of want to get an expert on this. I'm not the biggest gamer. I do have a Switch, but I've just never been that crazy on gaming. So we're probably gonna have another episode where we either get an expert or I talk to my boy Owen, because Owen's a big gamer compared to me, bro. He always be clapping my cheeks in Fortnite and stuff like that. So yeah, more on that later. Let's move on to the next story. So next story is the Crunchyroll Anime Awards have revealed their 2025 nominees. We have until April 14th to cast your votes. So they have, I believe it was like 24 categories. So obviously the main ones are like Anime of the Year, Film of the Year, Best Original Anime, Best Continuous Series, Best New Series, Best Opening Sequence, Best Ending Sequence, Best Action, Best Comedy, Best Isekai, Best Drama, Best Romance, Slice of Life, Best Animation, Background Art, Character Design, Best Director, Main Character, Supporting Character, Must Protect at All Costs, Best Anime Song, Best Score, Voice Artist Performance in both languages, English and Japanese. They have a bunch of other languages as well. But either way, we always do a podcast episode about the Crunchyroll Anime Awards. Last year, if y'all remember, Megan Thee Stallion actually was hosting the awards and she gave the awards away. But I think this year they're doing it later than last year. Last year they did it in March. This year they're doing it in May 25th. They're actually doing it, and it's actually going to be in Tokyo, which is pretty interesting. So, as always, we're going to be covering that. I did cast my votes. I'm probably going to post it in our Discord later on. If you guys are already in the Discord, or if you're not, let me see your guys' votes. I'm kind of curious because there was a lot of repeat ones. So like Anime of the Year was also like some of the options for there was like Don to Don or Kaiji number 8, Soul Leveling. And these ones are kind of repeats as well. So you see them in like Best Action, Best Slice of Life, and so on. So if you guys have voted or if you're planning to vote, definitely let me know in our Discord what you guys are voting for. I'm just curious. So let's move on to the next one. All right, this one's kind of cool. So One Piece is not only collabing with a sports team, they did football, they did baseball with the Red Sox, fortunately they did the LA Lakers. Obviously, I'm a Celtics fan, so I gotta hate on them a little bit. But now they're collabing with another baseball team, the Seattle Mariners. So they're having a One Piece night. They have these cool little designs, and they got a T-shirt now too, which is kind of cool. It kind of triggers me, bro, because obviously, like, I can't be getting all this stuff, like this limited stuff, because I'm gonna get the Boston Red Sox one. So if you get the VIP ticket, you get a jersey and a hat. I actually bought the tickets for myself and a bunch of my friends. So we'll be popping out to the Boston Red Sox one. We'll get the limited jerseys. The VIP one sold out, so I can't get the hat. But like, I'm trying to get everything, bro. So like, I would love to rep One Piece, but like, I'm not a Mariners fan, bro. Like, I care less about the Mariners than I do about like basketball, for example. Like the LA Lakers One Piece one looks hard, bro. But like, I would never cop that because I'm not a Lakers fan. I actually dislike the Lakers. I know I'm gonna get a bad rap for that, but I'm a Celtics fan. What do you expect? But either way, if you are in Seattle, you have a chance to pull up to T-Mobile Park, which is going to be obviously in Seattle, and it's going to be on April 8th. So you do have some time to go to it. I believe the one in Boston is May 3rd, so there's less time for this one than there is for the one in Boston. But you can definitely pop out and pick up your T-shirts and all that cool stuff for One Piece night. All right, next up we have some Princess Mononoke news. So firstly, it opened up. Let me back up. So firstly, this movie came out in like the 90s, and they kind of revamped it. They made the resolution better, 4K restoration. They made it IMAX accessible, and they kind of enhanced a bunch of other cool stuff like that. So with that being said, when it opened up, opening weekend had it number 6 in the US box office, which is, again, this movie came out like almost 30 years ago at this point. So it's still very popular. It's been out for a minute, and fans have flocked to the theaters just to watch it. Personally, one person in our Discord did go to theaters and watch it, and he told me it was great. I kind of regret not being able to go because I went to look at ticket prices, but it's already out of theaters. It was only there for a couple of days, so I totally missed it. I actually have not even watched this film, so I'm kind of beating myself up on that, not being able to catch it. But either way, open up at number 6 in box office is pretty impressive. All right, so this next one is a little bit more of details regarding the Studio Ghibli versus AI controversy that we just had. We did an episode recently on it talking about AI side of it, Chat GPT side versus Studio Ghibli side. We talked about how Studio Ghibli didn't really say anything to it, although we have indirect response from G Kids. G Kids is like a distributor of animated films in the US. So this is a quote that they had. In a time when technology tries to replicate humanity, we are thrilled that audiences value a theatrical experience that respects and celebrates Hayao Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli's masterpiece in all its cinematic hand-drawn glory. So, kind of some shots regarding AI, saying that they're trying to replicate, and they're saying that it's hand-drawn. So, like small little shots, but nothing too crazy. You'd expect this from a company trying to defend what they're distributing. But again, this is just in regards to Studio Ghibli's Princess Mononoke film that is just re-airing with 4K restoration and all that. So obviously, it opening at number 6 in the U.S. box office is just kind of showing that like people still care about Studio Ghibli. People love the hand drawn uh, drawings and animation that Studio Ghibli provides, and also not to mention that it's still very popular. But yeah, let's move on to the next one. So some more film news. This one's talking more about Chainsaw Man. So we knew that the Chainsaw Man, the movie with the Reze arc, is supposed to come out later this year. We don't know exactly when it was going to come out in the US, but we actually just got news on that. So just to kind of refresh our memories, this film is coming out in Japan on September 19th, and it's coming to the US on October 29th. So about a month and 10 days later on, we're going to finally get this in the US, which is pretty solid. The Demon Slayer movie came out in Japan. It's coming 2 months later to the US. So this is a little bit of a quicker turnaround compared to Demon Slayer. But yeah, this is supposedly not filler. This is all canon. And if Owen was here right now, he'd obviously hate the idea of this because you have to go out to theaters and watch this unless it comes to like Crunchyroll or Netflix or something like that. But we don't really have any news on that. We just know that this is coming to theaters. So you have to watch it if you're a big Chainsaw Man in theaters, unless they announce it later on. But as far as we know, that you're gonna have to watch this movie. So some good and bad news. Good news being that it's coming quicker rather than later, and bad news is you have to go watch this movie in theaters. And then lastly, let's end the segment off by talking about some new anime that we're getting. So firstly, we're getting is Ren Arisugawa is actually a girl. This is getting an anime adaptation, originally a manga. And here's a synopsis. Yo, the synopsis is crazy. All right, don't tell her. I'll do anything. The popular talent Ren Arisugawa is actually a girl. This situation, I'll use it to my advantage. Dot dot dot. Okay. Hey yo, this kind of out of pocket, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. But yeah, this is gonna be a pass for me. Obviously, the synopsis didn't really say too much. It was just kind of a short little quote, but I don't know, man. It's basically about like a popular actor who is actually a girl. So maybe the public knowledge was that it's not a girl and it's a guy, but it turns out to actually be a girl. I don't know, but this is apparently adult manga, so you already know this shit could get crazy, bro. And this is probably not something that I'll be watching unless people really hype it up. But adult manga sounds kind of crazy, bro, especially with the title. I don't know, bro. This might be a pass for me. All right, moving on to the last story for today. Another series is getting an anime adaptation. It's coming out in 2026, and here it is. I'm the only one who's not attacked in the world filled with zombies. That is getting a TV anime adaptation. And I will read the synopsis for y'all real quick. Here it is. The zombie panic action story takes place in a world that is suddenly flooded with zombies. And for some reason, the protagonist, Takimura, is the only person the zombies do not attack. If this were a zombie movie, Takimura would use this ability to fight against zombies, but instead he just acts according to his desires. Alright, bro, this is kind of crazy. So the dude sees everyone getting chased by zombies, and he's immune, but like he just be doing his own thing. I don't know, bro. Hey, have you ever watched Zom 100? It was kind of cool to watch the main character there run away from the zombies and kind of make a small little team of young people and just kind of visit the countryside, the cities, and just vibe out. But like having fun, not having to go to work. This one's kind of the opposite, where the character doesn't really care so much about other people, but he's just so much just trying to chill, vibe while the zombies do their thing, and he's completely unaffected. I feel like that would be something that I would be more leaning towards, like realistically, bro, if everyone's getting chased by zombies, I didn't really have a chance to find a cure or save anyone. I'd probably be doing the same thing, just chilling, bro, stuff like that. But I don't know. This story doesn't seem too bad. It's coming out next year, so we'll just have to wait and see if this one makes our radar at some point. But I think that's gonna be it for this episode. Once again, I know this was more of a one man show for today's episode, and probably not as entertaining as if Owen was here, but it's all good. He's gonna come back next week, and then we'll get back to it. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure y'all check out the next episode where we have a special guest, my boy Luke. You know, he popping out for that anime slash Japan podcast. It's going to be fun, bro. I technically recorded that video before this one, but I can tell y'all right now, it's going to be a good one. You know, he talks about more in depth about Japan, how it's like visiting Japan. Me and him might go next year, so that might be something to look forward to if we do like a part 2 to that. But yeah, other than that, that's going to be it for this episode, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode of Anime Plus. Until then, y'all take care. Have a great one. Peace.